Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second edition of the New Lady Parts podcast, which is just part of this grand experiment that I'm running of try new things and see what happens. No one knows. Jen, you might be the second and last guest. We'll see how I feel in a few weeks. No one knows. I could end up inviting dozens of incredible women on this podcast. I could maybe someday invite a man. No one really, we have no idea what we're doing, what's going on. I just had this idea about a month ago that I would love to bring some of my friends on it. Like, I'd like to talk to some of my friends in public and share that with the world. And that's where this podcast was created. So, you're Jen, you're from Alpine Fit. You're going to talk about yourself in just a minute. You and I met many, many years ago at a Title IX event. We have worked together since. Coalition
hmm
Snow sells your goods on our website. We also sold your goods in our shop when we had that. And there were multiple people who listened to the first episode where Mallory was featured who said, we want to hear from Jen. So you were requested. No
Oh,
pressure.
wow. No
Yeah,
pressure.
no pressure
Not
at
so.
all. Yeah, but that is why you're here. Number one, because I know you and I admire you. I very much like you. Number two, we've worked together. Number three, people wanted to hear from you. So you're here. Now, for anyone who does not know who you are, this Jen from Alpine Fit. Jen, tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Alpine Fit.
Okay. Well, I'm Jen Loofborough, if you want to know how to pronounce my very long last name. I'm from Canada originally. I've lived in Alaska, Anchorage, Alaska for 11 years. Stay tuned for later when we talk about upcoming chapters with that. Basically, I love outdoor adventure. I love long outdoor adventures, and I've worked in various capacities in apparel, outdoor industry, etc., for basically my entire adult career. And I started Alpine Fit because, well, I have the draw and the call to be an entrepreneur, but then additionally, the pain point or challenge that I was solving is that I cannot stand it when you see a cool technical piece of apparel or gear and you go to try it on and it doesn't fit your body shape. So at Alpine Fit, we're all about having different fit options for body shapes. Plus, I'm an fabric nerd. So having really great technical fabrics in really great products that you want to adventure in to go on long adventures. And then when you go to actually buy the product, we have multiple fit options that fit your shape. So we have a fit for different dimensions of chest, waist, hip. We offer free hemming and other things like that. So we make hats, headbands, neck gaiters, base layers, bushwhacking leggings, and other hiking apparel, all made in USA, woman-owned, independent brand. We'll also get into financing and funding, I'm sure. But yeah, those are kind of our unique value propositions. And ultimately, I'm just a person who wants to be an entrepreneur, and this is the idea I came up with.
All right, Jen, why? Why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Yeah. This also,
Yeah.
let everyone know, that was not one of the questions. Jen received questions. A few of them, she was like, yeah. One of them, she was like, I don't know. The very first question, I'm like, is not even on the list. Jen, why? What's this? Because the reason why I
I
ask is that
don't
if
know.
you're an entrepreneur, you know that it is, particularly now, particularly in the last few years, and maybe it was this way 50 years ago, maybe it was this way 20 years ago, but everything seems unnecessarily difficult and complicated and changing at such a rapid pace that only millions of dollars of investment could help you keep up with AI and algorithms and everything that's happening. We've got tariffs, trade wars. Uh, we're still dealing with all of the fallout from the pandemic, which absolutely appended all of our businesses. Even though a lot of us did
Still.
well for a little bit, it completely just wreaked havoc. So on July 7th, 2025, why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Please tell me.
Um, okay, well, I think it goes back to not 2025, but like, are you the person that when your parents wouldn't give you money or didn't have the money to give you to go do things with your friends, like go to a movie, did you go babysit and get a paper route, maybe three paper routes? I'm dating myself here. I turned 40
Mm-hmm.
last year. I turned 41 this year. Um, I just have a draw to figure out how to make my own money in a way that I have control of, even if that control doesn't provide the money I would like to control to come to my direction. It is totally ultimately on my shoulders to go out and get it and figure out how. So I think I just have always, always, always wanted to be an entrepreneur because I was the kid that was babysitting and had three paper routes when my dad kind of had a career change, and it meant there was no money for like extra things like going to the movies when I was a 12-year-old with my friends. So, why in 2025 do I still want to be an entrepreneur? I don't know another way. I've had a time where I was an entrepreneur for 5 years, then I actually sold that business, and then I went to work for someone else. And I had such an entrepreneurial spirit, and I grew the sales too much in that business that it ended up being a little bit of a problem. It lured me down the path of wanting to be an owner in that business that wasn't a pathway that was going to be available for me at that time. And I immediately discovered that I needed to just go do my own thing again.
And doing your own thing was designing technical apparel for all types of body sizes.
Yes, I left that job, which I also loved. That was when I worked at Scoop, the snow skirt company that's like a Swedish
Mhm.
brand that's based in Anchorage. I loved that job. I loved working with it, but I really would have liked to have a pathway to be an owner because I just have that craving to
Mm.
see the reward. I don't know, I don't even know how to word that because I'm an entrepreneur now and I don't get a lot of rewards for the hard work that I put out there, financial anyway.
It was, I was listening
But the
to a
hypothetical possibility.
right. There's always that like maybe we'll win the lottery, like right? Like you can't win if you don't play is kind of how
Yeah,
it goes.
yeah,
I was
yeah. But
listening
anyway,
to yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, just I felt extremely stifled in the situation where I wasn't the owner of the business. So I guess that means that that's what I just have to be. No matter if it's successful or a failure, I need to be on my own.
Do you think that you can't be managed? Like you can't have a boss? Do you think that's part of it?
That probably also is why I have chose to be self-funded rather than equity-based funded.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Okay.
Um, one of the questions I wanted to ask you. Okay, so just a little context for any listener. In case you do not own a business, what you should know is that this is all we talk about. Everyone who owns a business, we text each other, we talk to each other, like we're constantly talking about what is happening in business because it is so out of control and we're all trying to figure it out. So this is just part of what we eat and breathe every single day. And one of the things that we have any small business, I'd say, like particularly in the outdoor space, and if you're manufacturing specifically, I can't, like, even though I do some service-based work, I'm not really talking about that. I'm talking about people who manufacture their own goods and sell it. One of the things that we're up against, and this I would say like we're up against it in the last year and a half, is how AI is impacting our businesses and the amount of resources that you need to be able to manage that. And resources, I mean, just in terms of humans with skill, and then money to pay humans, and then money for all the platforms that you would need. And because AI will probably very shortly be the number one place where people are going, replacing a Google search with a search in AI. So that's sort of transforming what it means to be in business. And then you also have the algorithm on social media. So when, particularly on Instagram, right? I don't even know who uses Facebook anymore. Some people do. And TikTok, I just fuck off on that. So I don't even take it seriously. Anywho, Instagram, when we all started our businesses, however many years ago, you would just post and people who followed you would see it. And if you posted good quality or content that people enjoyed, your followers would see it and you would maybe get more followers and you could do these things. And now in the year 2025, you can post a lot of things and nobody sees it. And that's the algorithm. And it really is forcing you to funnel money into paid ads. and the AI piece and the paid ads piece is all about making money and how much money do you want to make, which leads us into conversations of how much do we want to grow? Do we want to grow? What are we doing? And all of this, like, can you grow? And growth, obviously, that concept is subjective, but how would you get the money to grow? And so, one of the things that I had asked you, I had specifically asked you about something that you had mentioned to me. So I was like, Jen, what do you want to talk about? And you literally sent me, it was a voice note, clearly. It was a voice note and a voice to text. I was like, she just had a day. I love this so much for that, Jen. And one of the things I
I
pulled
mean, we
out of
were
it,
texting on like the last of the month, heading into the first of the month when all the bills are due
yeah,
or
and that's when we're
emailing.
like, ah. So I
Yeah.
got this reply. I was like, I see you. Okay, no problem at all. Um, So you were telling me that you were stressed about cash flow, which is I always am too. And then you have friends who are raising a bunch of money from investors, and they're worried about their next round because they're not profitable. They're not making enough money from sales to fund their business. Their business model is to keep raising money. Your business model is to sell shit. And I asked you, like, which version of entrepreneurial hell would you choose? Would you rather have this business model of always raising investor funds, or where you're at now, which is selling product? And there's a part two to that question, but we'll start there. Which
Yeah.
hell feels better to you, raising money or trying to sell shit?
I feel like I'm aware of this other parallel universe I could have chosen, and I'm very acutely aware that I have chosen this one. I sometimes know why, I sometimes don't know why. One piece is the independence and not wanting to have like a board of directors telling me what I have to do about the business. I chose to be an entrepreneur to have the freedom of choosing what I do, how I sell it, the values that are in the business. The other thing is why I choose this path is I don't necessarily need to be the next gigantic business having the market share. I just want to prove that it's possible to have a profitable and net profitable business in this space, which again, if people aren't business owners, they might not be aware that like almost no brands or businesses at all in
Or
the entire country are profitable. Small mom and pop like independent retail stores, they might have a net profit, but like most brands that are household names to you or the new ones that have come out of nowhere, and shall I name names, shall I not name names, but if you see a brand like Cotopaxi or On Running that you didn't hear of however many years ago and all of a sudden it's everywhere, you want to know that they are growing like this, focusing on top line revenue being higher, higher, higher at whatever net loss, and
Yep.
just trying to get out there and capture market share, build up the brand value, get more investment, and they're paying, the founder owner salaries by the funding that they're getting. Of course, that funding dries up, and the founder owners that are working in it, they may not get to keep working in it or keep getting to have a salary, but like that's the path they're on. That doesn't sound attractive to me. Just having someone else tell me what I have to do, I put
Yeah.
enough burden on my own shoulders, and that other path just sounds like a worse hell than the one I've chosen for myself, which is basically working super, super hard to pay all the bills that I have to pay every month and not seeing much to take home for myself.
Same. So what I love, so thank you for sharing that. And what I love about it is that it exposes this reality of running a business that average people don't know. But also, I think it validates those of us who run businesses to say, hey, everyone, no one's profitable and we know it. And I don't think, to name names, we're not judging whether you take money or not. It's not, it
No,
really is a personal decision of the kind of business you want to run, who you want to answer to, how you want to answer to them, what your vision is, how you define success. There's not a right or wrong, but there's certainly a
100%.
million different.
100%.
Oh,
I
exactly.
might
Yeah.
have slight negative connotations towards some brands, but
No, well, we
but
can't
that's
help
just
it.
personal pet peeves. I don't judge it
Yeah.
negatively as a strategy. It is a path to take.
It is, and but it's so true that no one is profitable. No one is making fucking money. And yeah, the ones that seem really big, obviously their sales are spectacular, but what it takes to make the sale, they're losing money. So we're all losing money. One of the things I'm going to write about in Lady Parts shortly is why you don't see Coalition donating more.
Mm.
How do you donate money when you don't have any? I want to, like this is like a big thing, like the amount of donation requests that we
Yeah,
get
I
for
I
product or for
donate.
cash. How do you do it? Like there's literally, like, we're not profitable. No one is profitable. There's no profit. There's no extra money to pull from. So you're basically going to donate so that you can be less profitable. And I think that's a misnomer. Like people look at our brands and they say like, "Oh, well you have like your Instagram feed looks good enough, your website's good enough. I've heard about you. You must be making business, or you must be making enough money to stay in business." And it's like, really, we're just sort of like I'm a witch. I must be a witch. Like the things that I can concoct, like what I'm able to like piece together. But it is, it is a really interesting time to be in business. And I do think we need to talk more about this profitability piece, and that a lot of what you're seeing, like when you see brands sort of like on the rise, it's investor money, which again isn't good or bad, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't necessarily mean they're successful. It just means
And it
they were
also
able
doesn't mean that they have a healthy business. So,
to,
like,
yeah.
yeah, and having a healthy business isn't necessarily the only goal. Clearly, it's not for many businesses, but for some reason, that's what I've chosen to do is to try to have some myth of a profitable, sustainable, viable, values-based business.
Okay, what makes it is lore. It is absolutely lore. Why do you think, I mean, why do you think it is so challenging to do that, to the point that you call it myth and I call it lore, as if it's not possible? What makes it so difficult to do that?
Well, when you manufacture goods, you always have to uh,
Mhm.
prepay, I'll use that term loosely, but we're purchasing the raw materials and the production for a time that it is shipped to the customer later. And whether that's a direct to consumer customer, you're not getting the funds until they've ordered it online. If it's wholesale, you're not getting it till 30, 45, 60, 90 days after you've shipped it to them. And a lot of times when you're a small brand, especially, I mean, I know you know this, I'm saying this for the people who are listening, you're
Yeah.
paying for the stuff so far in advance. And if you want to grow for next year, you've got to buy more than what you had last year, with the hopes that the scale that you're getting to has a sizable net profit to then fund, well, your own pay, and then also hopefully some growth for the next year. But it's basically like, how could you ever have enough net profit from one year to fund an even bigger bill ahead of time of when you're going to get paid the next year? Like just that very simple equation is hard to imagine. And
I
that's a
feel
cash flow thing more than a net profit thing. But
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that, what you just said right now, the fact that we have to pay for all of our goods so far in advance, and I know for at Coalition, for example, it will be almost a year until we receive
mhm,
any money from anybody from it,
mhm,
that piece right there has so significantly limited our ability to grow, to do more, and it is so challenging to find the money to produce more, that I have spent the last year unraveling my entire business to the point where I can we will there is no growth in the future of my business, in the near future, because I am so tired of chasing money to fund production, and then ending up a year later and not having more money than I had the year before, and having to borrow more money. That's the other thing. All
yeah,
brands are existing on debt. Everyone, like, we have to take debt in order to fund production. And again, that's
yeah,
not a bad thing. I'm not assigning any feelings or values to taking on debt. I take on debt. I think it's totally fine. It's part of doing business. But again, it's the only way to like grow, right? And so if you don't have access to that capital, then you won't grow, which, Jen, why are we trying to grow? You and we
Well,
had a conversation in a pool in Reno about this a few
we
weeks
did.
ago. I have feelings. I have feelings about the concept of growth. Why do you think we're trying to grow our businesses? Like,
Okay, I
why?
have to say one. Okay, two things. One, I have to say to what you're saying, the interest expense of taking on that debt to get the inventory, that
Sure.
hurts your ability to be profitable. The other
Yes.
thing is you have emergencies where you need cash, and we haven't traditionally done a lot of sales on our website, but sometimes when people aren't shopping, a sale does help people buy more things and produces cash, but then you're selling it at not the margin that you should. So then that's a non-profitable activity to get the cash to pay the bills. Moving on to
Yep.
your next question. I think I already mentioned this a little bit. We want to grow because we believe that there is some scale point at which the net profit amount that this business can achieve is the amount of money that we want to have the viable business and the income that we hopefully will pay ourselves, not just the bills, etc. Why we want to grow, I think is just like touches on the, I don't want to say, after reading your newsletter or one of the ones that came out this last, I don't want to say the American dream or the Canadian dream, I'm Canadian, but like there is this like
Hmm.
ingrained thing that you need to do better always, always, always. And I do
Yeah.
think that it's worth reconsidering, especially with the goals that I've set for myself of wanting to have a profitable business. I don't necessarily need it to be a $1 billion business. I would just like it to be a couple $1 million business with a net profit.
Well, why? Why? Like, tell
Why?
me. Well, why? This really speaks to this is some I talk to people a lot about the concept of just having enough, what it means to
Hmm.
have enough. So, how have you determined your enough and what is enough for you? Like, if you're not trying to have Alpine Fit ever become like a Patagonia or North Face or Arc'teryx, like that's not what you're trying to do. And if you're not trying to do it, it means you probably never will. Again, no judgment in that statement, right? But how did you come to your understanding, your concept of enoughness for you and your business?
Well, I would say that the definition of enough probably will change as enough starts to ever trickle in. Um, but right now, an income that contributes to my family and my household that I can feel proud of myself for how hard I freaking work every single day and supersedes the income I know I could be earning other places if I had stayed on other alternative pathways in my life. For instance, I worked at Lululemon way back, my first job out of university, and was a materials developer. I climbed their corporate hierarchy very well while I was there, and I understood the rules of how that game worked. I loved it. It was very fun and very rewarding and challenging to grow within an organization like that. I could have stayed there, and I could have, who knows what level I could have been in a big organization like that. That was back in 2007, 2008. So for me,
Mm,
enough is that the business produces enough revenue and net profit that I can have a team that I treat well, products that I believe in that I'm excited to still have some hands-on component with making, and then the income that I can pay myself is a made up number in my own head that is what I think my annual salary should be that contributes to my family to have the stuff we want, which our needs are outdoor equipment, living somewhere where we have trail access, food, shelter, all of Maslow's hierarchy of needs stuff on the foundation level, but like time, freedom, and money to travel and get outdoors.
mhm.
That is enough.
I
Maybe
I
some of the
agree.
donation stuff, like we're trying to do the 1% for the planet. We are doing 1% for the planet, and we were doing climate neutral certified, which I had to take that piece out just because there was complications there as well. But like, I am doing 1% for the planet,
Hmm.
and it is hard because it's
One, yeah,
1% of revenue, not 1% of profit.
exactly. let me ask you this. When you don't make enough money to pay yourself, do you not feel proud?
I feel shame.
Yeah.
I feel sadness. I feel very happy that I always make payroll for my team.
Yeah.
I feel very proud about that. And then I leave myself with, um, you know, yeah, I basically feel shame that I don't pay myself um, what I believe I deserve, or not even anywhere close to some made up lower number than that.
Why do you think that we're so attached? Like, I feel the same way, which is why I asked. I was just curious, like, if I'm the only one. Whenever I feel really poorly about myself because I haven't paid myself enough, I try to think about all the things that I've done in that month or in the year or
Mm-hmm.
since I started the
Mm-hmm.
business, which, as you just mentioned, paid everyone. Everyone's always gotten paid. Feels like,
The
right?
rent is always paid. I'm a really
It's
good
about
tenant.
paid, right? I mean, there's like a few loans we have that I
Hmm.
still have not paid, but that's rich people money or government money. That's a different story. That's a different podcast too. But um, we've done a lot of things, right? Like we have started businesses, we have designed products, we have done things that people thought we wouldn't be able to do. We have
Hmm.
kept our businesses around a lot longer than people thought. We have added value and joy to people's lives, both through our product, but also just sort of our existence in this world. So why do we feel so much shame around the money part?
Um, I do think things like going to a trade show and meeting up with you and sitting in a pool chatting for a couple hours counts as some sort of currency in life.
Yeah.
So I do feel good about that. Put that in my back pocket. Um, Shame about the money. I think that, like, I mean, this could stem into I, I mean, for me, some of the shame could be that I'm a mom and a wife,
Mhm.
and I feel like I should also earn an income to be who I am in my own identity, because I don't identify as, I don't really, I mean, I am a mom and I love my kids, but I don't identify as a mom. I don't identify as a wife. I identify as somebody who's like strong and independent. And then I just also happen to be married and have children. So, like, if all of that other stuff got stripped away, standing on my own 2 feet and like, you know, or being the breadwinner, all of those, like all those things, like just the contracts of, my mom was, one of three women in her high school class that went to university, the only woman. There's like that stuff from like the history of our parents and stuff like that. My grandmother, who is somebody I really admired in my life that passed away a couple of years ago, she never learned to drive. She never, after she got married, had a job. Like, just those things. Like, I feel like I could have a job, and it could be a great paying job. I chose to have this job. It should pay me.
Yeah, it should pay us, and the I always struggle with why it doesn't. Why doesn't it pay
Because I
me?
didn't make good enough decisions, Jen.
Exactly.
It's all my fault.
It's
Like,
all my fault.
literally.
How is
There's
everyone
another
else
formula I
better at
could be doing.
this than me? How is everyone else better than me? They're making good decisions. I'm not. How am I here after 10 years and look at everyone else is so successful? Hmm.
Yeah, maybe we should be a little more selfish and make sure that we're somehow making sure that we're getting paid more so than all of the other people that are we have chosen we owe money to.
Can't do. I just can't. I can't do. I mean, again, do I owe the government some money? I do. Am I paying them? Nope, nope. I've sent the notice. You are not getting a check from me. You and I have discussed that as well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the other thing I think about in terms of when I'm feeling a lot of shame about money, which it is a lot. Like when I can't pay myself, I feel like I've fundamentally failed, and I don't pay myself a lot, and I haven't paid myself a lot over the past 10 years. And obviously there's all these other wonderful things I've had, like experiences with people and ski trips and
Hmm.
wonderful things. But one of the things I think about a lot is constantly re-examining my concept of enoughness because as you know, I have this other business in Kenya and I'm in Kenya every year. I've spent so much time there. And I'm in rural Kenya working with women who live in homes without electricity and without running water, and they never went to school. And their children have gone through primary and secondary school but may never go to university. They've never been on an airplane. The concept of like being outside and leisure time,
Hmm.
and so I'm always examining like, well, I did manage to do this. I don't own my home, but I have a beautiful little house in a very desired neighborhood in Reno that I rent, and I have a vehicle that I own, and it's a very nice one, and I have some skis and some bikes, and I have things, right? Like I have this cute outfit on right now, and I put some expensive eye cream on this aging face today. Like that's kind of what gets me is like that, why do I feel so much shame when I've clearly done enough to get to this, like I've done this. Uh and I could technically live with so much less because the global majority does.
Oh, yeah.
And yet for some reason I still feel like the amount I paid myself isn't enough, even though I have enough, because I
Hmm.
have that time outside. I have that time with my partner. I have time with my friends. I have my time alone. I have a roof over my head. I eat good food. All the things, and yet I still feel like shit every month.
Yeah, I think it's some yardstick that we've made up based on what either we see our peers are doing or we think we could have done if we had made different decisions. And at the end of the day, I don't stop being excited to get to work and work hard by
Hmm.
that shame or feeling like shit.
Hmm.
For some reason, I still want to keep working hard, and I have this hope that that
Hmm.
payday is just around the corner.
Totally.
So I'm just delusional. That's why.
Same. I mean, this is what we're doing. Sometimes I'm just like, what in the actual fuck are you doing? But I'm like, I guess I'll just do it again tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, on
Um,
the flip side, back to that equity thing, I am aware that if I wanted to sell some equity in this business, I could go out and get an investor, and probably with that round of investing, it would afford me some sort of salary in the first year that I could choose that funding paid to me.
sure.
But if I'm still not wildly successful and profitable with the business model I have, who's to say that that funding is going to help me make better decisions and that money's just not going to get all burned? And then I'm still like, I'm right back where I started, where I have investors and people telling me what decisions to make with the business, and then I'm still not able to pay myself what I deserve or think I should pay myself.
Yeah. I mean, I went and raised money and used a good amount of money, like again, to like pay a team, feel
Yeah.
like I burned that money, feel like I made some bad decisions, not because I was being irresponsible, but more because I didn't. I mean, hindsight is everything,
Yeah.
right? Like I didn't
Yeah.
know what I didn't know, and I was working. I thought I was making good decisions, and I was
Yeah.
consulting with a lot of business advisors. I was working really hard, but I would say that like I feel like now, like I wasted my investor money, even though I didn't, like I didn't
Yeah.
waste anything, but I feel that way because I feel like I would spend it in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, what do you think? So, I mean, you haven't worked with investors, which again, like there's no right or wrong about it. It just is. But looking back on all the decisions that you have made, what are
Yeah.
some decisions you've made in Alpine Fit that you would do differently, knowing what you know now?
Whew. Well, um, it has been really hard to have manufacturing in Alaska, and it happened kind of by accident and then got positively reinforced in a really wonderful way by how much our customers loved it. Um, but really, 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 really hard, and really hard to, it's hard to make anything in the United States at a price people want to pay for it when they're comparing it to things that are not really fair to compare it to out there.
Mhm.
But yeah, I would say a couple of things. One was like during COVID, we pivoted our manufacturing space to making face masks, which are, if you think making outdoor apparel in the United States is not profitable, making face masks and paying your team and thinking you're doing right by the universe, by our mantra was make something that makes a difference, keep our team employed, and I don't remember the third right now, but it was also really important.
Perimenopause.
Stay in business. It was probably stay in business. Weather the storm. Weather the storm. Weather the
Yes.
storm. Maybe I shouldn't have like spent all that money on wages making face masks for a good number of months. It did keep my team employed. I am glad that I did that. At the time, I would probably, given the circumstances and not knowing what was in the future, how would you not choose to find a way to still pay your team? But like, that was not a profitable endeavor. Like, made in US face masks, even if you could get someone to buy them from you, which we had a few medical offices and grocery stores and stuff buy them when the PPE thing was really short right at the very beginning. Like, I don't know, that was a big one. But yeah, made in USA, made in Alaska. Those are expensive things, and you make a lot of mistakes when you aren't an expert in owning a factory. So there's some things I could have done better about setting up a factory or identifying that owning a brand, developing products, designing products, selling products, marketing products is one skill set. And then owning a factory, managing people to, mass produce or small batch produce things, like those are two different brain human types, maybe. And probably they should have been two different businesses. Like if I wanted to own both, they could have been two different LLCs. I've heard other businesses have tried that and it also has been a big challenge. But like, I just think that I accidentally started owning my own manufacturing facility and I've never been good at owning and running a manufacturing facility. So that's probably the biggest mistake.
Yeah.
Though I love it and I've been deeply passionate about it and our customers have loved it too.
Um, but you're getting ready to make a big move. So some of
Uh-huh.
these things that you look back on is like, I wish I could do that differently. You
Uh-huh.
kind of are now doing that differently.
Uh-huh.
You want to talk about, is that a secret? Can we talk
No, it's
about
not a
what's
secret.
in the future?
It's newly. It's a very recent decision, but very new and definitely okay to talk about. Nothing's off limits. We can talk about it all. I identify as really transparent. Ask me
Good.
anything, I'll try to answer. Yeah, so I'm in Anchorage, Alaska right now, and a few weeks ago, my family and I have decided to uproot our entire life, which means the business because I'm one with the business, and we're moving our family and the business to Bellingham, Washington, which does mean that the Made in Alaska component of the business is changing. And alongside of this change, I have been working on how we're going to still have products made in USA, thanks to really great connections from our mutual friend Mallory and others. Have some great partners to make that happen. We've also produced a shit ton of stuff in Alaska, so I have a bunch of inventory that's coming with me. But yes, we could touch base again several months and or a year from now to find out if this was the right call. But my family wants a new adventure. Business in Alaska is really the geographic remoteness of where we are is very costly for shipping
Hmm.
and all the raw materials we ship up, every package we ship out, 90% of our online orders are shipping out of state, all these things. So there hopefully be some cost savings just by being geographically located in the lower 48. But yes, a huge seismic change is happening. What else do you want to know about it?
Well, I want to know, okay, what, I said this to you in the pool. Really? The lower
Yeah,
48 now.
yeah.
Interesting time to be like, I'm a Canadian, but I'm going to double down into the US and do this thing.
Yeah.
If I had the option to not be here, and I do have some options, and I'm exploring them. I'm looking at what my life could be like. in different places, because I do worry the path we're going on and whether or not this will be a fundamentally safe place for myself and my girlfriend to be, right? So like we think about these things. But you are choosing to put roots into the lower 48 at a time when the lower 48, and I mean arguably last, like all states are in a fucking dumpster fire. Why are you why are you why?
Well, I mean, if we want to get like end of the world feeling, I mean, Alaska's really far away from a lot of stuff. One tank of gas isn't going to get you very far. It's going to get you the middle of literally nowhere.
Good point. Okay.
Um, so there's that.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's just like that's the flip side of a different of that coin, but a different topic, sort of.
Yeah.
Okay, U.S. Well, I'm a landed permanent resident, so I do need to stay in the U.S. should I choose to naturalize, which I should do so that I can vote and these things.
Mm-hmm.
If I moved to Canada, that would kind of definitely screw up my immigration status and that as a possible pathway. Second of all, there is a large customer base in the United States, and all my supply chain and raw materials and stuff is in the United States. So there's like some logistics. I mean, contrary to what you, the way you may feel, immigrants still see a land of opportunity in the United States.
Okay.
And though I'm
All
from
right.
Canada,
Fine. Okay.
that was maybe the weirdest things I've ever said recorded. I'm so embarrassed, but not. Like getting really like 30,000 foot, like it's a
Uh-huh.
bigger market. You're connected to more industry, more people, more customers, like all that sort of stuff. So there's that like very logical, non-emotional piece.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then there's the family component. Um, my spouse is like licensed to do his job in the United States, and there would be all kinds of complications immigrating to Canada for Americans right now, or just in general. There's a lot of it's like I believe very well when we have looked into it, very challenging, like paperwork wise, but possible because I'm Canadian and my kids have Canadian citizenship. And then there's the other factor is that I have middle school age children. This one's a little bit out there, but Canadians are really angry. Really, really, really angry right now. And being married to someone who went to their undergrad in Canada during the Bush years, I know what kind of treatment that you will get being in Canada and being from the United States. There's a small nugget of something there. Like my kids do have Canadian citizenship, but being middle school age kids and moving into Canada, I'm not sure. This isn't a
Mm.
reason not to do it, but there would be a bullying, ostracizing component to it, which, as much as Canadians identify as being nice and everyone thinks of us as being nice, the United States has always been like the big bully next door. And right now, Canadians are furious with
Mm-hmm.
what's been happening. And it's not going to be a very fun time for Americans to to be in Canada at all or reside there and coexist in, you know, school playground situation kind of thing. So it's not
That's a
really a
lot.
great answer.
No, I mean it is. It is.
There's
It's
a few straws that broke the camel's back, and we're just choosing. I've never lived
yeah.
in the contiguous U.S. I think that sounds fun.
Yeah, you're like I'm gonna try it out. It's fascinating. So okay, because you are not a citizen yet of the United States. You are
Correct.
working on that. Are you? Do you feel like through this process, which will likely take you like a few more years, do you feel like you can say whatever you want to say about the world around you, or do you feel like
No,
because you
I
are an
said a
immigrant?
politician's name in this sentence and feel like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Mm.
It's weird.
Have you ever felt this way before?
The entire time, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the entire time. Or like literally any time before I was a permanent resident crossing the border into the US.
Even before all the shenanigans we've
Oh,
been
yeah.
witnessing in the last six
As a
months.
child, I probably didn't think much about crossing the border. Like in my childhood, we lived really close to a border crossing and we would cross into the US to go to the mall and like do other things. So I didn't really think about it. And there was a time you didn't have to have a passport, but probably post September 11th, it's
11,
always
yeah.
a thing.
Yeah.
And more so acutely, one time when I wanted to spend the summer in Alaska, like in 2006, we drove from Vancouver to Skagway, and I was just planning on spending the summer there, do fun adventure stuff, and ended up getting like fully like fingerprinted and palm printed at the border crossing in Skagway, Alaska, just because.
Just because. Well, and I think it's worth noting, that you are a, cisgendered white woman
Mm-hmm.
of privilege, if I'm
Mm-hmm.
incorrect on all of any of this, and you feel this way. Can you even
Mm-hmm.
imagine somebody who isn't a native English speaker, or someone who isn't white, or someone who doesn't have the higher education you have,
No,
or all the different, like, listed all out? Imagine
I
what their
really,
experience is like.
I really can't imagine it. It makes me feel ill to my like core.
Hmm.
And when I've been in those like side rooms where you're getting extra questions or pulled aside like at the border or like at I forgot my green card one time and I had to go into the back room at the border crossing in an airport and you're seeing like, families from a different, ethnicity, country, etc., like that are huddled together crying in the corner in those rooms. Like what was happening in their situation? What was happening over there?
Yeah.
I'm like so nervous to the point of shaking, and to your point, I am a Canadian white woman of privilege.
Yeah.
What was the rest of their day like or life?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know how to segue out of this conversation.
Just
I
full
feel like
180. Just pick any topic out of the sky.
so I just feel like it's so indicative and just, representative of the times that we live in, of what we're thinking about every single day, and that life isn't this point A to point B and do X, Y, or Z and it all works out.
Zed.
When you started your business, you probably never thought you would be dealing with the things. When you got married, you probably never thought this. Even when you were like, oh, I'm going to see what it's like to try to be an American, maybe you never thought that you would be, you know, thinking about, like, oh, I can't say someone's name. I can't, I'm afraid to do this or that. I can't leave the country because I won't get in. And I think it just speaks to the general vibe of 2025. And if anything, this podcast will be a marker in history. It'll,
Mm-hmm.
like, this is what was happening at that time. I do believe that we are at another one of the before and after times. Like, the last time we had it was the pandemic. There's before times and after times. I think the time before that, particularly if you were an American, or likely any of the countries that we waged a war on, would have been 9/11 was a really
Mm-hmm.
big before after time. We certainly
Mm-hmm.
have these moments, and I think we're in it now. And so to be able to
Mm-hmm.
capture that in this podcast might feel, a bit tangential to the conversation, or maybe a bit heavy, but also, like, this is life. This is
Yeah.
what we're all doing in various degrees and in levels of complexity and
Mm-hmm.
difficulty.
Mm-hmm. And I'm choosing to be here.
Choosing to be here. I do think about that a lot. My feeling for wanting to leave the United States is not really like a fuck it, I'm out of here, as much as, like, I don't know, y'all. I've said some things. I have a digital record that, like, I can't wipe
Mm-hmm.
my phone and think I'm going to be free of that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you're starting to
You're making me
hear.
second guess coming on this show, Jen.
No, you haven't said anything. You're fine. You're fine. But also,
I'm just kidding.
I mean, that is in it's that's a fair statement. But I'm gonna keep it good for
Okay.
you. I'm gonna try. But
Okay.
yeah, but my desire to potentially leave the United States has nothing to do with disliking living in the United States or being like fuck it somewhere else is better, as much as like I am concerned about my long-term like safety here and the safety of my partner and how she could be targeted as we see like more and more like
Hmm.
anti-queer legislation and sentiment because of how she looks. So these are the things where I'm like, okay, well, would there be another place to go for safety? Which isn't that different from what you're saying of like why you would be in the United States, because you want a safe place for your kids. You don't want them to
Hmm.
be bullied. So I do think that safety certainly plays a big part of it. It's interesting that your safety would be in staying here and my safety would be in potentially leaving, which is it's just funny how the world works.
Different, yeah, and maybe different facets of safety. I kind
Mm-hmm.
of feel like Maslow's hierarchy of needs keeps popping up for me. Like I really need to like Google it, look at it, and be reminded what the different facets of it are because I feel like I'm reflecting on components of it every single day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think that's a reasonable thing to do because, again, like in this conversation of having enough, right? It is like, okay, do I have food? Do I have water? Do I have shelter? Do I have physical safety, emotional safety? Like,
Hmm.
do I have these things?
Hmm.
And if we have all those things, then we have the opportunity to think, well, what more would I want? And
Self-actualization and whatever all the other ones are.
exactly. And for me, I'm really going through this process of trying to question what are the things that I want and why do I want them? And if I
Yeah.
don't have them, why do I feel so poorly about
Hmm.
myself? And how have I been what are all the things, which we know what the things are. It's, capitalism, it's the patriarchy, it's misogyny. Like these are the reasons why we feel poorly about
Hmm.
ourselves. It's not like it's a mystery. But it's like fine, it's fucking right there in front of you.
Yeah.
But just because you know it, that's a whole different thing from saying like, okay, well, I've internalized all of this. How do I work on that to feel differently? Because our experience on this planet as humans is a lot about feelings. It's about how we
Hmm.
feel. And if we don't feel good day in and day out, what in the actual fuck are we doing, right? Like there is that part to it.
Yeah, I definitely, cliche expression, whatever it might be, every single day think about the fact that it is a journey and I am living my life right now. This thing, I have an upcoming move. It's like we're finding a new like place to live again in the hierarchy. All these things are to-dos on this massive never-ending to-do list, which as soon as I get a week from now, new different things I haven't even thought of right now will be on it. And
Hmm.
like that whole thing of you need to stop and smell the roses or enjoy the moment, all those cliche expressions totally are true. We are living our lives right now. This is how we're choosing to live our lives
Hmm. It's a
because we're
choice. Yeah,
privileged enough to have this choice.
absolutely. Hmm.
So remember that life you're living a life right now and that you need to not be miserable all the time. And maybe these things that are so stressful, sure they're stressful and they have to get done, but also you're living life. Take a deep breath if you can.
Exactly. And that think about what you do have control over and make those
Yeah.
decisions there for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Um, Jen, our time here is winding down.
Hmm.
I did not ask you all the questions, but I think I asked you enough. Is there anything burning, Jen, that you still want to talk about before we wrap up this podcast?
um, Mostly that we've kind of dwelled on the negative side of money. And I do feel really fortunate to get to work on something that I choose to work on. And I'm
Absolutely.
super appreciative that people on the outside of what I'm working on think that I'm doing really well and that the business is really successful and wonderful. and are stoked to support it. And I do see that, and I am very appreciative of it. And it is a form of currency that makes like my heart filled up.
Hmm.
I'm still over here wanting to problem solve and figure this shit out to be
Hmm.
successful, viable, and sustainable. But there are so many positives about it that we didn't really talk about that much, but they are there. And I'm stoked that your audience wanted to hear from me. That makes imposter syndrome for me flare up. Like, why would they want to hear from me? But I'm glad to hear that. And I'll put that in my little, feel good currency that I'm paying myself with today.
Yeah, put it in the bank. Put it in the
Yeah.
bank. All right, so Jen, before we go, a little bit, just share like people who already know already are familiar with Alpine Fit. What could they be looking forward to? Like what's on the horizon in terms of Alpine Fit? And maybe people who aren't familiar, is there anything you would want them to know about Alpine Fit as well?
Okay. Well, how to find me, alpinefit.com, at alpinefitco. We have some new products launching. Garage Grown Gear kind of supported us in developing an Alpha Direct fleece hoodie that was one of their most successful women product launches of all time, and we're about to restock with them and launch some on our own website, so stay tuned for that fun product development. I'm going to be at some shows this summer, like PCT Days. I don't remember what your question is, but you can find us online. You can stay tuned and hear about how my move to Bellingham goes and whether or not I've hit this magic strike of awesome viability and sustainability, or the challenges of relocating to another state. I don't know what your audience wants to hear from me. That's just a couple little nuggets.
You did answer the question, so
Okay,
good
good.
job.
Great. Great.
Good
I
job.
forgot them as soon as you asked.
You did a good job. Jen, I want
Thank you.
to thank you so much for being here. It is I I do realize it is a big ask to be like, can I have an hour of your time? And then I want to take everything you say and share it with the world. It is a big ask. It really is. A lot of people might be like, oh, that's so amazing. You get the people hear about you. Like, no, actually, people are going to now know my inner thoughts. And I don't know how comfortable I am with that. So thank you for being on the podcast. And thank you for being such a wonderful human being to work with and learn from over the past few years. I will be watching to see what happens with this move. And we might even have you back on in a year from now if I'm still doing this podcast. No one knows what I'm going to be doing.
Nobody
Um,
knows what any of us are going to be doing in here.
Nobody
Never mind
knows.
tomorrow.
That's fine. So yeah, Jen, thanks so much for being here. We're going to put your website, your links, all your things in the show notes. So make sure to give Jen a follow. Even better yet, subscribe to her newsletter because we all know that social media is kind of trash. Even if you like to scroll, you know you still think it's trash. So sign up for her newsletter so you can be the first to know about all the things and share this podcast with everyone you know and tell everyone how much you love it. And I'm just going to keep going. And thanks everyone for listening. If you have ideas of who else you'd like for me to interview or even topics to discuss, make sure you drop it in the comments. Jen, you did a good job. Proud of you. I will be texting you sometime to commiserate about something in the near future.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, friend.